The engine block is sanded out now. It was pretty easy. That paint is pretty thin on there. Those spots you see like that, that's just the bare aluminum. But it's 100% sanded out. I have the left side cover off now, and you can see that's where the neutral switch grounds out. This is the shifter. That's the timing chain tensioner, and you can see what it loosens up this assembly right here and allows that to rise up and tension the timing chain. And you know, I could put a new timing chain in it, but I think the timing chain's fine. I rotated the whole engine, rotated it all the way around. It looks really good, and it's tensioned good. I mean, it looks like brand new in there. So I always kept the oil changed, and I think that's the key to longevity. So that looks really good. And the stator, which I will be removing, so I can clean this assembly up. This is the clutch adjusting mechanism, which went in that hole right there. The neutral switch, and this was leaking oil too, so that O-ring needs to be replaced, and that went through there. And the stator bolted in here, and the stator I'm going to wrap up so I don't get it dirty, so I don't want to clean it with solvents or anything. There's little varnishes on the wires, and solvents will kind of ruin them, so keep your stators away from solvents. So I'm going to get this in the parts washer and clean it up and give it a sandblasting and get it ready to prime up and paint. I found another possible cause of the clutch slippage if the clutch wasn't engaging fully. This is the clutch adjuster that goes in this cover, and this is on the chain and sprocket side. This part assembly doesn't go into the engine. This shaft goes through and pushes the clutch. This has a little bearing in the end of it, goes over that shaft, and this is what moves when that turns inside of this. That moves this up and down and engages and disengages the clutch. And if this is sticky, because this actually has a grease fitting right here, and it pumps grease through that hole right there into it, and then out that to keep this free in the cover. And this goes in here, and then this ball goes in here, and I'm not going to put it together right now. I'm going to pack it in a bag, but that is what moves to engage and disengage the clutch. And if this wasn't moving back enough because of the grease and binding, it might not have been letting the clutch fully engage. So that's another possible cause of the clutch slippage. This was super nasty dirty grease in there. So it's all cleaned out. I have this piece here brand new, but this one cleaned up, and I think I'm just going to put this back together with this existing part, and with new grease in there and everything. I think that'll work just Jim Dan. Trying to hold the camera and bead blast with one hand, but I'm only going to do a little bit. Strips it right down to nothing right quick. And that's completely taken the paint off just that fast. It doesn't look it because it's silver on aluminum, but believe me, it's coming down to bare metal or bare aluminum that quick. The cover is actually not pitted, it just, this cover still had most of the paint on it still, so it looks pretty good. So I think this is pretty much all ready for primer. This is the only real pits, and that was underneath that cover. Moisture sat in there, so I'll repaint all this in here, and I think when I reassemble it, I'll put some thin film of grease or something in there. I don't know, maybe I'll just leave it, maybe the paint will protect it, but there's some pretty good sized pits in there. They don't go through the cover, fortunately. The cover is fairly thick right there, so it'd have to be a lot more pits to get in there. So I'm going to give this a shot of primer. This is primed on both sides because it's going to be painted on both sides. So they're all primed and look pretty darn good. I don't think I'm going to need to use filler primer on this. That looks amazing. So I think I'll just let that dry a couple of days and just give it a quick 600. You put that metal etching primer on super thin, so maybe, I don't know, I'll just give it a super duper light 600. I'll pull the seals out before I paint it. I think I just spent more time masking the engine off than I did prepping it, but I'm going to try and get it painted today. And I ended up taking this little piece off. I just think it'll come out nicer, and I'll just bead blast this and paint it with the black automotive enamel when I paint the frame and the other pieces. And this is the gun I'm going to use. It's a little Badger that I have, door jam gun model, Badger model 400. I have this one and another identical one I got in an estate sale for a couple of dollars. So really like these little door jam guns. This is not an HVLP, but I really like the way it sprays. I enjoy using it for small jobs like this, and it'll work good to paint these covers. I popped the seals out. Those are ready to spray. I would say that's a perfect match. So I'll let the paint dry probably about a week, and then I'll reassemble the engine. Really looks nice. Came out nice. Yeah, looks good. It's a tack and a final. That's all I put on it. The original paint wasn't on very heavy, so I put it on kind of light like it originally was. It's 2 coats. Like I say, a tack coat. You put a coat on, and then you wait until when you touch like a wet area. I don't know if you can hear that. But you wait until it feels about like that, like sticky masking tape, and then you're ready for your next coat. That's basically ready for another coat if I was to put another coat on it. But that is the final coat. Looks really super nice. Let me get it with some sun on it. Yeah, this is the warmest day we're going to have in a while. It's 59. That's why I decided to do the paint work. So I'll show a little bit of what I use here. This is the paint, which is just a regular single part acrylic enamel. And I mix 8 parts of that to 3 parts of this. Now this is a medium temp reducer. Normally small items like that, in this type of weather, I'd use a fast dry reducer. But seeing I didn't have a fast drying reducer, I just used this, and it worked out perfect because the humidity isn't super high and there's sun and a bit of breeze, and that helps evaporate the thinner. So that worked out really good. This is the catalyst, the activator, and when you use this, the paint dries really hard. It's pretty much all you could dump gasoline on it and it would not phase the paint. You could probably even dump the enamel reducer or lacquer thinner on it once it's totally hard and really not damage it. The lacquer thinner might damage it, but the enamel reducer wouldn't. So that's one part of that. So 8, 3, 1. And then I use this, and anything that has oils or greases or waxes, now a crankcase of an engine, I don't care how well you clean it, there's still a chance. And I cleaned that with lacquer thinner. I literally was liberal with the lacquer thinner cleaning the crankcase covers, but still, you know, anything cast can absorb oils and stuff. So I use this in the paint, and you know, you don't put a lot in it, a few half a dozen dry. I put about a half eyedropper full. It has a little eyedropper. Here, I'll pull it out and show you. So the eyedropper goes to the bottom of the bottle, and I just put in like a half a eyedropper full. See how it has, I'm going to squeeze it out. So it has measurements on there depending on how much paint you have. And this amount I put about 0.50 milliliters in, which is a little excessive. Probably a few drops would have done, but it helps in my mind. I don't know if it really does or not, but I think with metallics it helps the metallics flow out. And it just prevents fish eyes and stuff like that. It really does help in my mind in making paint flow. You'll get that paint when I'm done, when it's dry, cured. This is the other brand, PPG. You can use this, and it's all compatible, but I didn't know if I had enough of that, and this is almost full, so I just brought this. I keep this stuff in the basement where it doesn't get hot or cold. If you keep it cool but not cold, and wipe your top off before you put the cap on, this stuff lasts for a long time. It eventually will go hard in the can, but if you take care of it, it stays liquid for a long time. That's from the Pontiac, and it's still good. And this is from the Pontiac, but this is almost empty, and thought I'd finish that off. I don't think that one's been opened yet. So that's just a little of what I use. And basically with painting, the more you push this, the more paint comes. The less you push it, the less paint comes. The air is about the same once you start spraying air, but you can adjust these for your air and the amount that this goes down. So if you just want a fine mist or whatever, and the regular guns are the same way. And if you can spray with a spray can, you can spray with a spray gun. It's no different. It's exactly the same. You're just spraying out of a gun instead of a can. And you get a little bit more paint out of those, so you got to be a little further and a little quicker. You paint once or twice with a spray gun and it'll just come natural. If you can spray with a spray can, you can spray with a spray gun. I run this as a standard gun. I run it at 60 PSI. The HVLP guns, I might run at about 30. This one I run at 60. And like I say, I love this little Badger Model 400 door jamb gun. It's perfect for painting little jobs like this. It's easy to take apart and clean. When it comes to painting, the most time consuming part is masking, and then the second most time consuming is cleaning your gun. I take my gun 100% apart and clean everything in lacquer thinner. If you don't, it won't spray right the next time you go to use it. So a clean gun is important. Clean it when you're done. And the leftover paint will turn to jelly in a few days from this being in the paint. This will actually harden and cure in a few days. If you didn't put this in it, it would not cure. It would stay liquid. Never put your leftover paint back in the can, because it'll cause the whole can to gel or go hard if it's got this in it. So whenever you put this in your paint, you don't use the paint, it's going to go to like a gel. But I'll dump, there's probably a little bit left in I filled this gun up to about there, and it's down to about there right now. And that's all the paint I used. So I'll dump that gun back into here and put the cap on it. So when I put the motor together, if I put a little chip or something, I can actually use this hardened paint and it'll flow out, and I can touch it up with a little touch-up brush if I get a little nick. And literally you will not see it because it'll kind of melt in and flow out with that hardener. But the key is you got to do it before this turns to jello, and eventually it'll just go hard from jello to hard. But it'll have probably 3 or 4 days, maybe 5 days before it is unusable. So I'm just, like I say, going to dump that into here, take my gun apart and clean it. One last thing before I clean my gun is I go around and I really look at the paint job, make sure I just didn't miss a spot or have like a spot of overspray or anything like that. So I inspect everything really, really thoroughly. And this one I painted both sides because this is the inside of where the chain and sprocket is. That little dimple there is where the neutral safety, that little plastic doohickey was broken. So I just like to really look at them, especially when, you know, when you're holding them. Like to look at this side, make sure it all has paint on it. And this cover, I mean, I look them over like I say, because it's nothing worse than when it's all dry and you're putting it together and you see some primer or you see some spot that just doesn't look perfect. So that looks really nice. And the engine's looking really nice. I got the heat up in here. I turned it up to 72. So yeah, it looks amazing well. And it's still, you can see that's like where you'd put a second coat of paint on right now if you're gonna, or it's ready for another coat if you wanted to put another coat on it. Got a little tiny bit of a run right there, but it's nothing worth worrying about. I don't think it'll affect the appearance. And that's one thing with enamels. You can put it on and it'll look really magnificent. And if you put it on too heavy and it looks really glassy and magnificent, you come back and it'll all be sagged. You got to kind of lay enamel on to where it looks a little overspray almost. And then as it cures, it turns to glass, like a glass-like finish. So for the most part, I'm really pleased, really tickled with the way the paint came out. And I'm going to let this dry to the point where when I touch that, it doesn't stick. And then I'm going to demask. And the reason why I want to demask is if there's paint between the two and you peel it, if it peels their finish, it won't crack it away. It'll stay there. If it's hard dry, sometimes it cracks as you unmask. So I always like to unmask while they're still, you know, within a couple hours of the paint job. I like to start demasking. I'm going to show how I clean the paint gun. The first thing I do is I run some just regular lacquer thinner through it twice. I do it once and then shake it in there and dump it out, and then I refill, you know, about what it is, a little bit of lacquer thinner, and then spray it again. That gets the heavy stuff out of the gun. And I just saved the lacquer thinner, the used stuff, in a can mark because it's good for cleaning parts or cleaning the gun, or, you know, the initial cleaning, the final cleaning, you use that. So I'm going to show you how to clean the gun here. So this piece I use an X-Acto knife to get that out. And I'm just going to throw everything in the pan here. And I might have to get that stuck on. Let me get something to get that off. Very gently took a pair of pliers and twisted that and pulled it off because it was stuck on there. That goes towards the nozzle. And then this comes off. And this comes off. And then I take this nut out, spring in that, and then you can take your spray tip out, and I take this off too. And the reason I do that, there's a packing in here, and if you don't clean it, your gun gets sticky the next time you use it. There's the packing right here. So that's important to clean all this stuff too. So I just put it in some pan of lacquer thinner and use a small, like a acid brush, and clean it all. I couldn't find an acid brush, so I just got a little paintbrush I had, and you just go around. I'll try and do this, hopefully everything shows up. Just try and go around and just clean everything up. I just like to swab them with a brush, usually just putting them in lacquer thinner is enough, but it never hurts to you know, really make sure your gun's clean. I'm kind of anal about having a clean gun, but you know, your job comes out much better when your gun's clean. This is the spray gun disassembled. That's the tip, the nozzle, the little doodad that adjusts how much spray you want, the spring to return the tip. That just diverts the air around this. This is the seal for this. This is the packing nut for that packing. This is the part of the air valve. This holds the assembly on that, and the paint cup seal, which goes right there. Use a little X-Acto knife or something, pop that out so it doesn't permanently get adhered from paint stuck in there. First thing is the air valve, and this little thing goes in first, and there's a little spot it sits down in there, and I just jiggle it, and there, it's down in now. And then this has that little shiny bump on it. That's the part that hits that, so you got to kind of put that down enough with that towards the back, that shiny part towards the back roughly, and then you put it down in, and now that is together. And you need to put, and hopefully that showed up on the, I don't know if it showed up. I can't watch the camera and do this at the same time, but if it didn't, sorry. And then this packing goes in, see how it has a little bevel on it. The flat side goes in the nut, and then you just, and the reason the flat side, if you look at this is beveled in, so you can put this on here just loosely. It's not tightened up any. And you can shove this through, and your little spring goes on there, and this goes on, and that adjusts how far, so you can watch as I turn this. See how it lifts that up? So that regulates how much paint you want to put on. I just leave it turned all the way back, so I just use my finger to adjust how much paint I want to come out. This little thing goes on next. This little thing goes on, and I pull this back when I put this on, so that if you know, you don't want to jam it in the end of this nozzle. And I think that nozzle, I don't remember, I think it's a number 25, I'm not sure. Then this thing goes on. This is the part that your air comes out those little holes, and this one and the paint out the center. So you can spray with it, get your fan pattern this way, or any way you want, basically. And then this goes on here. And then now I'll put some lacquer thinner in it and give it a final squirt. Move this around so I can get my paint can on. And we got an assembled gun. So again, I just spray a little lacquer thinner. That's just lacquer thinner to give it that final. And you can see how a little bit of paint, more paint, more paint, more, right down to a lot. And it's just got a little bit of thinner in the bottom. That's why it's spattering a little bit. Surprised it hasn't ran out yet. But you gotta, you know, make sure your packing nut's snug enough there, but don't over tighten it to where this doesn't move. One last tip: filter your paint. You'll regret it if you don't. So I ordered a new one of these for that left signal, that one that I repaired. I just didn't like the way it looked, so I got a brand new one, and this is a Honda part. And I got these. I got both these brand new for right and left side, and they're the genuine Honda stuff. I got a package of 6-volt lights. That one I had to bust in the turn signal to get it out, so I did get a package of 6-volt lamps, and the spark plug wire end came, and this is exactly identical to the original one. The paint fumes were getting a little thick in here from the thinner evaporating, so I turned on my ventilator. That's what you can hear in the videos, so that'll draw the air through the garage and kind of freshen up the air. And the paint will cure better if the solvents are not in the air, but that's now dry to the touch. And one last thing, an estate sale find. Nice little table, maybe use it in the garden or something. So again, if you enjoy my channel, please subscribe, and thank you for watching.